So, you've decided to play a DPS. Well, congratulations! You've now joined an elite team of expendable number generators that will be yelled at, criticized, and kicked from the group the moment other roles are forced to do their jobs. And since there are plenty of MMOs to pick from nowadays, it's likely the majority of you will choose to play this class. That many will attempt, but few will ever master. Luckily, I'm here to give a few lessons to those of you considering the role of DPS. So follow me. Nope, I'm leaving. Lesson number 1. You're not special. That's right, your mother lied to you. Turns out you are 999,999 out of a million. And don't you forget it. Your group members sure won't. The moment you miss a stun, take a point of damage, or your DPS slides a point, they'll be threatening to replace you, and as it turns out, they can. In mere moments. And you will have to wait in ridiculously long queues for the privilege of being treated like human garbage. That's right, your father was telling the truth. No one loves you, no one will ever love you, and you're not my child. But maybe that's just me. I'm working through some stuff. Lesson number 2. Learn the rotations. Every DPS class has a rotation of skills for achieving maximum damage output. You will be expected to know this as soon as you hit max level, even though you were never expected to learn it during the leveling process. So, how exactly do you learn this rotation? Well, you could read one of the many conflicting and often confusing online guides, but this is essentially cheating. The other way is from personal experience. However, much like trying to get a job straight out of college, group members will expect you to already have at least 10 years of experience in what is considered an entry-level role. So, you better figure out how to time travel. Lesson number 3. Set your priorities. As far as everyone is concerned, your ultimate goal is maximum damage output. Until it's not. Either way, you're f***ed. Numbers are all you should care about. Forget everything else. Letters? F*** letters. Unless they're the letters D, P, and S, specifically in that order, or some kind of cipher leading to additional DPS, you might as well forget how to read. This, of course, isn't true, but to everyone else, you're just a calculator that doesn't have feelings. In other words, just a calculator. So you might as well be a good one. I suggest being a scientific graphing calculator, as each and every stat your character has will have an effect on your damage numbers. And that can get confusing. One misplaced point could be the difference between being a DPS god and that idiot who's wondering why he's taking damage. You're standing in a campfire, you moron. And if math isn't really your thing, maybe think about switching to support. They're important too. That's a good one. Lesson number 4. Assess the threat. In MMOs, there are many threats to your survival, but none so big as the enemy. No, I'm not talking about that harmless NPC. I'm talking about your fellow group members, namely other DPS. No matter how good you may be, you'll never be good enough. Undergeared, unknowledgeable. To them, you're one button press away from accidentally lopping off your own limbs. Fortunately, we can defend against them as these attacks typically come in 2 forms. A. Gear check. If your MMO of choice unfortunately allows other players to view your gear, I'm so sorry, you should probably switch games. Prepare to have your gear inspected and criticized in as condescending a manner as possible. Despite how many tests you may have done or guides you've read, none of it will matter. If you're stacking crit, they'll say you should be stacking haste, or mastery, or charisma, or one of the other 1,000 stats that you're expected to know every nuance of. B. Build check. While your group members may not be able to see your skills or build, that won't stop them from making not-so-subtle suggestions regarding your rotation and talents. This will still happen even if you follow lesson number 2. Even if you are doing the most DPS in the group, well, you could be doing more. Maybe you just aren't playing the best class for DPS. You really can't win. The best course of action in either of these scenarios is pretending to defer to their perceived prowess. Tell them that they're right and that immediately after this dungeon, you're going to do exactly what they said and become a better person. Play to their ego. Trust me, they probably need it in their empty little lives. Lesson number 5. Multitask. I know, I said numbers are all that matter, but that wasn't technically true. As a DPS, you've got a few other things to worry about. Here's a simple list. 1. Maintaining your DPS. 2. Keeping up your dots. 3. Staying out of red telegraphs. 4. killing ads. 5. Stunning. 6. Interrupting. 7. Properly mitigating aggro. And 8. Any other special mechanics. These are all on you, and trust me, there are more. Better learn to multitask. Being a tank isn't looking so bad now, is it? Lesson number 6. The blame game. When hits the fan, everyone in your group will be quick to blame whoever they can to avoid responsibility. However, there is a cycle to this game. Tanks will blame the healers and DPS. Healers will blame the DPS. And as a DPS, you should blame the healer and tank. It is a vicious cycle where no one is the winner. Being a responsible player, it may be tempting to take responsibility for your mistakes. However, this cycle is one that cannot and should not be tampered with. To do so would break the very nature of the MMO Trinity and cause mass pandemonium. Keep the status quo and blame the tank and healer. Even if it's your fault, your conscience will just have to forgive you. With all of this in mind, you may be thinking, why on earth would I want to play a DPS? Why would anyone want to be a DPS? Because no other class is as difficult or rewarding. That's why. Now that you've committed and likely need to be committed, let's learn a few tips on how you can be a better DPS. Tip number 1. Install a DPS meter. While numbers aren't everything, you'll want to make sure you're pulling your weight. Sometimes literally. See the size of that sword? As long as you're not actively sucking it up, then you can promptly ignore the damn thing and live your life again. Tip number 2. Make friends. While they may generally be the enemy, it's not healthy to be alone. Everyone should make a few friends. Namely a tank or a healer. Yes, while you could make friends for companionship, the real reason is to use them to reduce group queues. I mean, they're only using you for your fireballs. It only seems fair. Tip number 3. Remember this simple acronym. TheHiveLeader's. They need you as much as you need them. As much as they may not show it or realize it, the other roles need you as much as you need them. Yes, DPS are quite squishy, and can very easily die without tanks to take the damage and healers to heal it. But without you, they would die of old age trying to kill trash mobs, let alone bosses. Sure, they may be able to eventually kill them, unless there are enrage mechanics. Then they're f***ed. Thank you, enrage mechanics. Tip number 4. Remember your other skills. Sometimes you'll find that you have skills that aren't related to DPS. Stuns, interrupts, roots. Despite what other DPS players may tell you, these are important. These skills can not only save yourself, but the lives of your entire group when used at the right time. Unless you're a complete sociopath and care nothing for the well-being of others. In which case, you just keep doing you psycho. And there you have it. With these patented lessons and tips, you're ready to get out there and kill some mobs with the power of numbers. But at the end of the day, when you think you can't take one more criticism, remember the DPS motto. To err is human, as are we all. So worry about yourself and shut your damn mouth, otherwise I'm putting a sword in it!
And there you have it, my guide to DPS. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for future videos. You can also watch another video right up here. And if you really want to help the channel, you can donate to me through Patreon like these other amazing people. I'd heal for them anytime.